Hello and welcome to the English 2 Unit 1 Performance Task Debriefing. These videos are one of the supports that we have decided to provide teachers in the district based on feedback and other information that we've been getting about the implementation of using performance tasks across the district. So I want to cover a few things before we get into the specific English 2 Unit 1 goodies. So all performance tasks in the unit plans are required to be administered to all students. So for English 1, 2, 3, and 4, each unit has one performance task. And it is required that teachers administer that performance task to all their students. I do want to address the nature of the change to performance tasks from more objective assessments. The CIA team knows, and we knew from the beginning, that this would be a huge shift from our historical practice of objective district assessments. We also knew that it was vital to make this switch. The more that students are actually performing and writing, especially in English classes, writing and doing the work of the standards instead of doing multiple choice or true-false assessments that kind of point in maybe the direction of the standards, that's going to increase student achievement, and it's going to get our kids ready to be real readers and real writers, not just in our classroom, but outside our classrooms as well. I do want to invite, as I do quite often, I want to invite any feedback that you have on the actual performance tasks themselves or the implementation of performance tasks across the district. I do ask that you email me or call me or flag me down if you see me in the store, but tell me what's going on and let me know what you're thinking. But I do ask that if you're going to give me some feedback, please offer suggestions, real suggestions. You know, this is what's going on. We're struggling with this, or I'm struggling with this. Maybe this is something that would help, or this is something that I'm going to try. And you should know by now that I do take that feedback and I make it real and use it whenever possible. So please feel free to email me or call me. My direct office line is 919-560-2605. Give me a call and let me know what you're thinking and how it's going, and we can have a discussion about some real changes or supports or additions that would make this better for everybody. So I'm going to go right into the English 2 Unit 1 unit map. You can access this unit map through SchoolNet and also through the DPS 912 English.wikispaces wikispace that we have. So our first unit in all English courses, but in English 2, our unit 1 is the power of narrative. And one of the things that's new to our curriculum supports this year, our curriculum documents, are transfer goals. And these transfer goals are what we really want to get out of our students. We want our students to transfer the learning that's going on in the classroom, that's going on through instruction, and transfer it into real performance, transfer it into real action. And basically the transfer goals for this unit are that students are real narrative readers and real narrative writers. We can teach them all of the story elements and all of the narrative tools that we want, but unless they can read those narratives and make something of them and then create their own narratives for a variety of reasons, audiences, purposes, and tasks, you know, we're not doing our students any service. So our unit transfer goals are based on our unit focus standards. And for Unit 1, our focus standards deal with theme or central idea, and analyzing the development of characters and how they advance the plot or develop the theme. And then the writing standard, of course, is writing standard 3, which is all about writing narratives. This section here, these 4 sections actually, of stage 1 of the unit map, these are the breakdown of those focus standards and the transfer goals. The little pieces, the little building blocks, if you will, of those things that we can do to scaffold and make our students as successful as possible in achieving this goal of transferring their narrative reading and writing learning into narrative reading and writing action. And I'm going to go right to stage 2. This is where the assessments are. English 2 does have district provided common district assessments, and those are listed here. But we're focusing right now on the performance task. So in NC Write, you can find the complete performance task. For English 2 Unit 1, the sample performance task it's all about character. So what I want to do at this point is take you right to NC Write and show you how to find that prompt in NC Write. So when you log into NC Write, you're going to have several tabs up here. My interface looks a little different than yours, but it's pretty similar. So when you get to NC Write and you log in, you go right to prompts. And then the easiest way to find the district prompts is to go to level here and click on district. Now when you click here, when you click here, you'll also see a choice. You can choose school level prompts or my own prompts. I don't have that. My account is a little bit different. So you would click district prompts, and you'll see that the program will then pull up just those prompts that are created by the district. And we're talking English 2, so we're going to go to grade 10. So now it's just going to give me the district prompts that are tagged for grade 10. And you will see that there are a bunch of ACT sample prompts in there. And I will actually do a video explaining why they're there and how you might use them at a later time. But we're going to focus here on Unit 1 for English 2. So for English 2 Unit 1, here is the prompt. When you first log on and find this prompt, this green arrow right here will be a red X. In order for you to allow your students to have access to this prompt, you have to enable it. What I have done in NC Write is make all of the district prompts enabled for all teachers. I want you to have access to them at any time. However, I don't make the instructional and assessment sequencing and pacing decisions in your classroom. You do. So, excuse me, you have to enable this for your students. When your students log on, they will not see this prompt as a choice until you enable it. So what you do to enable the prompt is you click on this box to the left of the red X, and then go here and click enable, and you will see that this turns into a green check. After you enable the prompt, your students can access it. So you decide when you want your students to be able to get in and dig around in that prompt and start working on it based on what's going on in your classroom. So in English 2, Unit 1, waiting for the program to open it. There it goes. I'm actually going to cut and paste this. The sample prompt that I have created is called It's All About Character. And I want to go over specifically what can be done with this task, right? So the required performance task for English 2 is that students must write an original narrative with a fully developed theme. Careful development of characters, setting plot, and central conflict must clearly support the development of the theme. Now, I provided a sample, a fully developed sample task in NC Write. It has mentor and stimulus texts attached, and it also has some resources attached. This provided prompt is an option for the completion of the required district performance task. This piece here is the required district performance task. That is what students must complete. I encourage all teachers to use the sample task as I developed it, or to customize this performance task to fit the concepts, themes, and texts that you're using in your classroom. If the context and audience and role that I've developed in the sample task doesn't fit what's going on in your room, you can tweak that and give your students those specifics about what kind of narrative to write. Regardless of whether you use the prompt that I provided in the supports or you customize the prompt to fit what's going on in your classroom, all students have to submit their responses for this required district performance task using this one prompt in NC Write. So when you have your students do the performance task, they have to have access to this prompt. They have to submit their responses to the performance task to this prompt here. Some folks that did tweak or customize the performance task to meet the needs of their classroom and what was going on in it. In the first couple of marking periods, some of you created your own prompt, and the prompt you created was great and your students did the writing, and that's awesome. What we need to do now is tighten up our data collection so that I can provide better support across a district. The CIA team specialists are required by academic services and senior staff at the district level to provide a data report on all performance tasks and their completion and the levels of proficiency. And I want to make sure that all of you that are having your students do the performance tasks according to our implementation plan as a district are counted in those numbers. If you have your students complete the prompt in the performance task in a prompt that you created, you will not be counted in the numbers, and your students will not be counted in the numbers of those that completed the district performance task. So make sure that no matter what you do with the prompt, this is where you're having students submit their responses, okay? So for English 2 Unit 1, our prompt is all about character. And the prompt, I created a situation and a role for your students to fulfill and an audience for which to write. So this one is all about character. And it asked the students to think about a time when they thought they had someone figured out, and then they discovered they didn't have that person figured out. I created these tasks on kind of universal situations that would require very little background knowledge or tie-in into instruction. I did that purposely because there are some teachers that will work through the unit and have students doing the writing and doing the reading, and then they want to administer the performance task as a standalone, almost like an on-demand prompt, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I have other teachers, however, who take a look at the performance task before they start planning for the unit, and they say, all right, this fits in perfectly with what I had in mind to do for this unit. And then they might tweak their text a little bit. They might tweak their instructional sequencing and pacing. But in the end of the unit, students are writing to this prompt as not just a district performance task, but as a performance task that ties directly into the instruction, the instructional concepts and themes and texts that were being used in their classroom. It's great either way. Either way works just fine. But what students have to do here is to create an original narrative that develops the backstory for a prominent character trait exhibited by a real or fictional character. So we're asking students to think about someone they thought they had figured out, whether it's a person in their life or a fictional character, and then create a narrative that gives us some backstory, some lead-in into why that character trait is what it is in that character. It would be really be a great idea maybe to take a look at a scene from a movie that was made from a book and talk about where is the backstory for that character trait that we see in this character. So there's lots of really great opportunities to tie this in with different kinds of texts as well. The focus here is that we're learning as much as possible about the character so that that character trait, the backstory for that character trait is kind of the theme, so that the reader can understand this is why this character is this way. So again, use the task as written or tweak it, customize it to fit what's going on in your classroom. Just make sure that in the end, this piece up here, an original narrative with a fully developed theme, with careful character setting, plot, and central conflict development, that is the key. That's the district performance task. Okay. Something else I do want to show you in the unit map to support student success on this performance task. We've provided some resources here in stage 3. There are professional resources. Those are like more like self-paced and self-selected professional development for teachers on the big rocks of the unit. And then we have instructional resources. These are materials that can be used with your students right in class. And then we also have a summary of key learning events, opportunities, and instruction. Last summer, when we had our curriculum design symposiums, we had lots of teachers from all over the district come together and write lesson plans to support this best practice pacing and sequencing that's laid out. As a group, we looked at the pacing and sequencing, made some revisions, we edited a little bit, and then teachers chose which course to write lesson plans for and which unit to write lesson plans for. And then they set about as a group coming up with lesson plans that would support teachers that might need some help, or maybe they've done, you see this lesson plan here by Christy Drake is on literary elements. We have in this district some amazing veteran teachers, and they've been teaching literary elements for a long time. But you know, the best teachers are always looking and seeing what other folks are doing and seeing what works and seeing if they might add just a little something extra to what they do in their classroom. So these are clearly just support. These are not required lesson plans, and this is not even a required pacing and sequencing. It's just one best practice option for how to pace and sequence your instruction during this unit. These over here, these are hot links, and they will take you directly to the lesson plan that was created by a DPS teacher over the summer. I want to close by reminding you to make sure that your students submit their responses to the performance tasks to this prompt in NC Write. No matter if you tweak it and customize it for your class or not, this is where it has to be submitted. And as always, if you have any feedback or questions or suggestions, please get a hold of me. Again, my direct office line is 919-560-2605. You can email me as well. Have a great day.